forthepeople.com or call at area code 630-244-7893.
Wow, this looks really great. Gosh, I've got to stop talking to myself. The Psychic Gallery on the first Monday of every month, 7:30 p.m. here in Boca Raton. De-stress, connect with intuitive abilities, laugh, learn about psychic phenomena, and get psychic messages? Psychic messages? Woo! Where's the price? Here it is. Only $25 at the door? Awesome! How do I sign up? Oh, easy. Go to HalleyElise.com. Nice. $5 off online? Oh, I've got to call the girls and tell them about the Psychic Gallery on the first Monday of the month. Great time! 7:30 p.m. Perfect. Have to remember HalleyElise.com for the Psychic Gallery.
The opinions expressed on the following sponsored program are strictly those of the host, guests, and callers, and not necessarily those of this station, its staff, management, or sponsors. Welcome to the Halley Elise Show, featuring your host, Empowerment Psychic Halley Elise. She is an author, psychic, and media personality, and has been listed as one of the top 100 psychics in America. Empowerment Psychic Halley Elise shares the spiritual, metaphysical, holistic, and magical powers of the universe. Follow Halley on her website at HalleyElise.com, and all her shows can be seen via live stream video. Now, here's your host, Empowerment Psychic Halley Elise.
Good evening, everybody. Nice to see you. I'm so glad, as always, and you always hear me say this, that I'm delighted with my guests that are here, but I'm especially delighted when they are friends and they're successful and they're beautiful and articulate and talented, and that we became friends because of actually uncovering some mysteries. And this is partly why this lovely lady is here tonight. So without further ado, I have MCV Egan, the author of The Bridge of Deaths, with me this evening. And actually you can see the book here over here, and you see the little thing on the top. I don't know how well we can actually see that. I'm wondering, as I move stuff, if we can bring it in. Oops. The producer loves when I do this. I play with things, but all right, do it here. I'm trying to get the light there. Okay, the reason I'm showing this, in case you're wondering, is because we're doing a drawing tonight. So you should be calling in at 888-565-1470. And Ken is going to grab your first name and grab your phone number, because we have a drawing for the pocket watch, for the book, for all sorts of goodies, which you will find out about. Anyways, I could go on about the goodies, but you know me. I always like to give away stuff. Tonight we're on because, not just because you created a great book, but we're here to share with other people so they can learn a little more about how we're all really interconnected, about how things hold energy, about how there is an amazing potential to learn just from being in a space with something. So without belaboring all the ditties that I want to cover here, I'm going to go right to why a book with the title The Bridge of Deaths.
The bridge was surrounded by a lot of death, starting with a plane crash in 1939, and it just made sense because it's kind of a monument to so many deaths in World War II, and that's why the title is The Bridge of Deaths.
Gotcha. Because I know that it was important, but I know a lot of people looking at the book go, oh, it's about death. I don't know that I want to, read it. And yet your book actually is a compilation of metaphysics and reality, of a love story and investigation of history. I mean, I love the way you wove everything together, because I don't think I've ever read a book that's done in the same fashion.
I hear that
Truly.
all the time, that
Truly.
It's really unusual. So I hear all the time that it's completely unusual, that it's something that nobody has seen before. And as you see the watch in this copy, it's because of what we were talking about, energy,
right,
that is held in things, and that is my grandfather's watch that 5 different individuals held, because I'm a real skeptic. So the only reason you were not one of the individuals is because we knew each each other
Right.
through a different source.
Right.
And so I didn't want any integrity to be questioned. But individuals who had absolutely no idea about the story held it and were able to, give the lettering on the wing of the plane, draw the bridge, and give a tremendous amount of information that led to a lot of questions.
Now, this book, so that people know, was not just something that was fabricated overnight. You woke up and you went, oh, I think I'm going to do this book. But you researched this for years and years and years, and you contacted different countries, and you investigated thoroughly. I know that you recently redid the book, and you moved a few things around, added a new cover, but the original book had all of the research in there. So anybody who's a historian, just eats that up. What was the impetus for you to really dive in? Okay, yeah, it's an interesting story about, somebody passing, and, you just mentioned that you have the grandfather's watch, but what was the impetus
my
there?
grandfather died 20 years before I was born, and his death left so many questions, but it also left such an imprint because he was an avid collector. So as a child, I walked down hallways and I saw paintings and I saw so many books and things. He left his footprint in so many ways. And so I became extremely curious as to who was this man and what was his death about. So I never knew my grandfather. I didn't lose my grandfather, and at the same time I always missed him.
Gotcha.
And that was the impetus.
Okay. We actually have a caller, so let's say hello briefly to our caller and find out if she's heard about the book or if this is the first time. It's Maris on the line. Hi, Maris. Can you hear us?
Yes, I can. Hello, Halley.
How are you?
Good, thank you very much.
So did you have a question for MCV Egan about the book?
Yes, well, I am not familiar with the book because I just found out about it. But I've also had near-death experience.
Mm-hmm.
And this accent, you might not recognize me. Because I had this nice Cockney accent since my last intubation and stroke.
Okay.
So
That's kind of interesting. I said that's kind of interesting. So after a stroke, it actually affected how you speak.
Yes, they call it foreign accent syndrome now, but
I've actually heard about
I
that.
brought somebody back with me.
Fascinating, fascinating. You know what, Maris? It might be great if you call in when we do a show specifically with psychic readings, because that would be wonderful for you to share. And maybe, talk with me when I'm off air also, because you might be a lot of fun to have on with us. But we're going to put
wonderful.
you... Yes, absolutely. We're going to put you in the drawing, okay?
Thank you.
Thank you, honey.
I was wondering, is it that I can ask about the near death?
I'm sorry, honey. We're really focusing on the book this evening and giving out awards.
I haven't read it. Thank you, Halley. I'll see you soon.
All right. Thank you. Bye-bye. Very fascinating. I actually have heard about that.
You know what? When I had my very first past life regression at the age of 31, my accent in Spanish changed. And it went from a very neutral Spanish to a very Mexican Spanish. And so when she was saying that, I was thinking about that because today we're supposed to talk about psychometry and past life regressions.
Exactly.
Since your involvement with the book is that the real Bill, and there was a real man, his name is not Bill, did subject himself to regressions, and Halley was one of the hypnotists that put him under. So, put him under is right. You
yeah, sounds funny, but yes, put him under, not the ground. But
my personal experience, my Spanish accent actually changed, and it has never changed back.
That's
having
amazing.
Like a really strong,
Well, since you brought up the psychometry and the regression, let's talk a little bit about that. For instance, psychometry, for people that don't know, it's when you hold an article. It could be a book, it could be a piece of jewelry, it could be really anything. And somebody who has the ability to connect with it can tell information about the person who had it, where it was, different events in time. It's really quite fascinating. And you had your grandfather's watch, and you started to say at the onset of the show that you had two different psychics.
And the watch went down with the plane.
Oh,
actually, 5. 5 different people gave the same story.
5. Okay. For some reason, I think it was 2, but so
No,
5.
I'm too stubborn and I'm too skeptical.
And you didn't believe it.
Exactly.
So wait. So 5 people told you the same exact thing. Did you need 10?
No, the 5 people said the same exact thing, but it was so it contradicted some of the data that was documented, but the data that was documented was also being fought by some of the engineers. So, the contradictions were there anyway.
Right.
So, I'm very skeptical. That's part of what makes it kind of ironic that I ended up
I believe this makes you a great investigator because you are skeptical, because you don't just believe things willy-nilly. I mean, even with me and you, we know each other for a long time, and I think it took you a while to even come see me to see, well, I don't know, should I? And it's not that you don't like those types of people, but it was like, is she for real? I'm not sure. So I think it's kind of fascinating that you brought, Bill with you. And at the time, I really didn't give any thought to where we were going. It was just a matter of, you asked me to regress him, and asked if you could stay in the room and take notes. And I was like, oh, this is interesting. But it all worked out. And it's funny, I don't think you mentioned to me till perhaps after the book was published about how you had taken those notes and used them to find out the truth about what happened.
Yes.
And that's amazing.
Yeah. But I mean, that's part of what made it so good, that you had no idea what you were doing, and that's what I wanted. I
did know how to do the hypnosis.
No, of course. Of course you did how to do the hypnosis. But I meant you had no idea what the goal was or what we were looking for, and that was the whole point, because I didn't want anybody guiding him into something that you
didn't want to alter the outcome by having somebody with a preconceived idea about the direction that they were supposed to go in. And with him, it was just, okay, let's see what happens. Yeah. And it was kind of fascinating with the information, too, that he came back with, because I've regressed people with all different types of things, and a lot of times they come back with, oh, I'm a Chinese person and I'm sitting with a bowl of rice, and that's all that they can get from it. This gentleman had such vivid recollections, such specific details. It was phenomenal, truly phenomenal.
It was really exciting. I mean, completely foreign to the actual plane, his descriptions of the smells, what he was wearing, and his voice changed too as he was, and that was also right.
It became more, if you will, hearty, more robust, and he's I won't say that he's a slight man, but he's a slim-built individual. So it was kind of fascinating. What I think is amazing is how much, when you work with psychic phenomena, there are different areas that you can touch into. Years ago, I worked with a gal who ran a team of FBI agents, and she used to bring me documents, and she wouldn't let me open the file. It was funny, and she would tell me, I'm not even supposed to bring this out of the office. Which was amazing, too. So I never saw what was in the file, but she asked me to hold it. And I thought, well, that's kind of interesting. Okay. But we had done that several times. At one point, she asked if I wanted to come on their team, professionally and actually be paid by the FBI. And I was like, nah, because the things that I saw were not happy things. And I think
I would not be.
You have to be a certain person to be able to do that type of thing. Like, a trauma nurse, for instance. They see certain things that a nurse in pediatrics doesn't necessarily see. Anyways, we're going to take a quick break. I'm here with MCB Egan. We're talking about the book, The Bridge of Deaths. And we have winners this evening, so be sure to call in 888-565-1470. We'll be right back. Thank you.
Bob, did you see Halley Elise in the paper?
Who?
The Empowerment psychic, Halley Elise. They did a 2-page write-up. The columnist was enthralled. Halley went right to an issue that she was dealing with. I'm looking at HalleyElise.com right now.
What are you thinking? Should we schedule an appointment?
Matter of fact, yes. You have issues with Sue and me, my business. Take a look at her background. It's impressive, and she has decades of experience.
I want to put it on my iPad. What's her info?
Empowerment Psychic Halley Elise. HalleyElise.com. 561-755-2166.
Spell it.
HalleyElise.com.
So it's HalleyElise.com and 561-755-2166, right?
561-755-2166. That's it.
You're listening to Empowerment Psychic Halley Elise, and she invites you to visit her website for more information about all that she does at HalleyElise.com. Now, back to your host, Empowerment Psychic Halley Elise.
Hello and welcome back. If you're just joining us, I have MCV Egan here, the author of The Bridge of Deaths, and we're having a ball because her book encompasses so many amazing and different types of subject matter, and it's all interwoven in such a phenomenal way that she's getting acclaims all across the globe. So we have a lady on the line named Susan. I'm going to let her ask a question and then we'll continue chit chat. Susan, are you there?
Hello.
Oh, there she is. Hi, how are you?
I'm good, hon. How are you?
Very good. So we have MCV Egan here. Did you have a question for her?
I sure do. I read
Great.
your book, MC, and I really, really enjoyed every minute of it. I just wanted to ask you, though, past life regression, do you believe in it?
I do. I do, and the reason that I do is because I've experienced it a few times myself. And like I was saying earlier, I actually had a physical experience. I had a change that happened to me. And the person, the real Bill in the book, the real gentleman, has now become very Catholic, and he is not interested, but he realizes, he liked the book, and he realizes that he changed very much, and it gave him a sense of purpose, so he went on to study great things and do great things. So I do believe in it. But in the book, I try to give people the freedom to believe whatever they want, and that's why I have one character that's a diehard believer, Maggie, one that is wavering, and one that is completely against it but doing it because he has to.
Yeah. I read the book, and I really enjoyed it, but
thank you.
I got all caught up in the whole past life thing, and I just wanted to find out. You know, I figured if it's hard for me to believe, then it must be even hard for others. But I want to believe. You know what I'm saying?
I like to believe in the eternal human soul, and I'm going to tell you exactly why I believe. I believe because to me, a fair, just God would give us a variety of lives, some good and some tough. And if we all go through all these different ones in different lives, then, you know, we accomplish different things. And then there's a sort of, to me, then there is a balance. There is more of a just God. And that's what led me to believe, because I was raised very Catholic, and I was raised to believe a very different set of things. But born in Mexico, in a nice family, but I had the experience of witnessing others having very tough lives, huge poverty, and it didn't make sense to me. So I was always seeking, okay, I want to believe in God, and how do I get that balance? How do I see a God that's fair? And I think if we get many chances, and some are tougher than others, then that's fair.
I love that.
I totally agree with you there. Yeah.
Thank you
for
so
calling.
much for reading my book, and thank you for calling.
Have a great night.
Thank you.
Thanks.
You too. Bye-bye.
See, isn't that nice? Somebody calling in, they're giving you that feedback. And I was just trying to think about our goodies. I'm wondering, maybe we should make them wait till like after the show and actually go to your page on Facebook.
Whatever you want to do, you can draw at the very end from here, because I understand that.
Because they're busy in there with the phone calls and all, and taking down the names.
Which is very nice. It's kind of like, for people that have never done this, it's kind of like Frasier, but like the beautiful Ross is on this side and the gentleman is on the other. And it's really fun.
Too funny. Okay, we have Toy on the line.
Okay.
We'll take her call real quick. Toy?
Sure.
Hello?
Hi.
Hi, hopefully I said your name correctly.
Yes, Toy.
Yay! Okay, so what question did you have for MCV Egan?
Well, I've read her book, and I'm a fan. You've
Oh,
seen
how
me
nice.
on Facebook before.
Okay.
And the question that I have for her is more about the development of her characters, which she's already kind of mentioned a little bit. And my question was kind of answered with the last person. The fact that she doesn't try to force people to believe one particular thing. But I guess what I wanted to know from her is if there's been any other instances where maybe kind of a feeling or impression or any other past life things that maybe have inspired something else she might be wanting to pursue.
If you mean write about, maybe. Yeah. But I've had a few experiences because I've gone to group past life regressions, and I've also done private, and I haven't had the courage to do one yet with Halley because she's so much more than a hypnotherapist. She's also psychic. So her ability, when people go under with her, she has this ability to see what they're seeing. So, you know,
are you trying to say you're
sometimes
shy?
you want to be a little private. But yes, I have a lot of notebooks, and I have notes on everything. And when I've been hypnotized, what's happened too is that there's kind of a transcendence into my dreams afterwards. So I've had dreams that kind of create continuity. But that's a great question. Thank you, Toy.
Absolutely. Thanks for calling in, Toy. We appreciate it. And you definitely will be in the drawing.
All right.
Thank you. Just as a reminder, everybody listening in, speaking well would be nice, right? The phone number to call in is 888-565-1470. That's 888-565-1470. Ken's busy in the other room taking first names and phone numbers, and if you had a specific question for MCV Egan, we'll put you through. Okay. So all of that said, we kind of touched on very briefly about the development of character, about past life regression. You're not really being somebody who dove in and said, oh yes, I totally believe. What I love in the book is that, like you said, you have one character who's a diehard, she's a spiritual girl, and she's teaching everybody about, this stuff is real. You should meet my mother. You would know this. And then, her cohort in crime, who becomes her love, he comes kind of kicking and screaming. And it's so much fun to read about them. And I think all of us can relate to that, meaning we all know somebody who is that, that kooky person who believes in everything. And then we know the people that are like, oh, maybe I believe a little bit. There's a modicum of truth in everything. And then there's the ones that are like, yeah, I don't think so. And you took all of that into consideration. What I think is beautiful, though, is you took the love story that evolves with them, and then you brought forth all the information about your grandfather. And I think that really is the message there.
All also the 5 men that died on the plane.
Right.
It was, and the easiest to find was Anthony Crossley because he was a British member of Parliament. So that helped a lot too with believing in the psychic research, because one of the first people that helped me kept on saying, oh, you have to look at Palestine, Israel. And I was like, what is he talking about? This is 1939.
Right.
And to me, historically, that didn't exist. And then when I started digging and I started seeing all the meetings in the British Parliament about it, and that he was involved, that was such a tangible piece of evidence that, well, they're not reading my mind because I was clueless.
Right.
And it was real. So, yeah, it was fascinating to research not just my grandfather, but all the different men.
What I think, too, is very fascinating is the conflict that came up. Here now you've done the past life regression. You've had these people that knew nothing give you really very concrete information with the watch. And yet during your investigation, we're finding roadblocks. Oh, no, that didn't happen, or things were changed. So it really becomes somewhat of an idea of espionage as you start to reveal things.
And it's not just me. I've talked to other people that feel that people on the plane were also spies, and they were their relatives.
Mm-hmm.
So, and in those days, if you start looking around, in those days, everyone was recruited. It wasn't like today that there's so much technology, and they needed people. Anybody who was,
double agent.
Well, my grandfather could have very easily been a double agent because he was raised in Germany, and yet he went to Texas A&M and Columbia University. So he had great influences and loyalties from both sides.
Right.
So, because he was very fond of both countries, so it is very possible. But Julia Child, the cook, she was a courier during World War II. It's like anybody who traveled and anybody who had contacts got recruited.
But that makes sense, because at the time, the countries really needed assistance. They couldn't train enough people. They didn't have the resources to really make their armies as strong as they needed to be. And it made more sense, too, that the average person could infiltrate a situation where somebody coming in uniform couldn't. So,
absolutely.
Amazing.
So, yeah, it's a very intriguing era. And I think we have a lot to learn, from seeing how different wars have developed to try, hopefully, like the carefree character, the pacifist does, try to prevent wars. I hope that, that to me, it is one of the tools. A good tool is knowledge.
I think too the if you will little tete-a-tete between Maggie and Catalina that goes back and forth really makes you think about. There's always two sides to everything. We always talk about it's like his, hers, and then what's correct. But I really think it's more a matter of you're looking at opposite views and then trying to determine how does it fit into your world. And it's not just about the history, but how that affects us today, because we take for granted about all the things that have, I'm going to say, really made major impact on us. And our children, sadly, aren't aware. They go to school and they study, let's say, American history, and that's nice about, the Indians were abused and taken advantage of, or, we were friends with them on Thanksgiving, and so much of that is not correct. And so your book, I think also brings to light that while you're assimilating information, while you are exposed to things, that you really need to think for yourself.
I hope so. I really hope that is something that people take away from that we really need to use our own sense, our own mind, and decide what is real to us, because we see, history is a great point of departure for that, because we see so much how we're taught X, and then as new things start getting uncovered, especially with papers being uncovered, and that's why I re-released on the 75th anniversary, because it breaks every limitation that was put on any archive, so they can be, anything that was closed can be opened.
It's incredible. So listen, if people want to get a hold of you, how can they do that?
Through my website. It's the name of the book,
okay.
www.thebridgeofdeath.com, right, okay. And that has links to everything.
Okay,
I have
perfect.
a pretty large cyber footprint.
And you're also on Facebook, and you're on
all
blogs.
The links
and
for my Facebook
people
and
can
Twitter
find
and
you.
Everything are at the bottom of my homepage.
Perfect. I can't believe this time has flown by. So that if you called in, we are going to look at the names. We are going to award the goodies, but to make it better, if before 10 o'clock, now I'll make it midnight, before midnight tonight, if you post your name on either MCV's page saying I listened, or you post it on my page, you will be included in the drawing. How's that? And then we'll give away goodies.
Oh, that's fun.
Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you so much.
I'm so glad you could be here this evening.
Thank you, Halley. It was great to
My pleasure.
be invited.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Be enchanted and delighted. Connect each week here on WNN for the Halley Elise Show. Also on Facebook and at HalleyElise.com. Thanks for tuning in.